Hello everyone, August 27, 2026. A few days ago, I read a major review on an exceptional longevity, extreme longevity. The researchers looked through thousands of studies to find out what centenarians and supercentenarians, that's over 110 years old, have in common. They found the usual things. Protected genes, of course, lower inflammation, better mitochondria, good blood markers, plant-based diets, physical activity, not smoking, and social connections. Okay, wait a second. Those things may help people get to 100 or 110. But then I asked one very simple question. If researchers searched for everything these people had in common that helped them to get to extreme longevity, why did they not search for what they also had in common that still stopped them from going to 130, 140, 150, and beyond? That is the question that led me to the following formula. Here it is. Pay attention carefully. Okay, don't let the letters confuse you or scare you. Starting from left to right, the LI simply stands for your lifespan. Then every T means the age when one essential system reaches failure, like your heart, your immune system, your brain, your respiratory system, and finally, your motor unit system. Then you have the word min, which means the smallest one. In other words, the first system that fails is the one that decides your lifespan. You don't die when everything fails. You die when one essential system fails first. Now, this formula may sound simple, so let me show you why it matters when we use it on a real human being. Her name was María Branyas Morera. I made a video on her in the past. You can check out the link in the upper right corner if you want to see the video. She was the oldest verified person in the world when she died at the age of 117. Scientists studied her for more than a year before her death. They found incredible biomarkers, unusually strong mitochondrial function, protective longevity-related genetics, including a rare one called a timeless variant, and biological age tests that made parts of her biology look decades younger. But then suddenly, she died peacefully in her sleep. And the scientists openly said they had no idea what killed her. The link is in the reference section, YouTube video, if you want to check out what he said. He didn't say it in the study, he said it on YouTube. And that is the problem. These findings explain why she escaped diseases that kill people earlier. They do not explain what finally stopped her. To understand what may have been missed, you first need to understand a word almost nobody has ever heard. Sarcosthenia. Sarcosthenia, not sarcopenia. Sarcosthenia means that the muscle you still have becomes less powerful for its size. Not smaller, not necessarily full of fat. The actual muscle that remains loses its ability to produce force fast and powerfully. This is very important because people assume that weak older people simply lost muscle. But researchers studied master athletes, people who trained for decades, their entire lives. They're in their 60s, 70s, 80s. They have more muscle and better muscle composition than ordinary older adults. And yet, these same master athletes still produce only about half of the peak jumping power per unit of muscle volume compared with younger people. Think about what that means. They still had muscle, but the muscle did not work like young muscle anymore. That is what sarcosthenia is. Why am I talking about sarcosthenia? Because it forces us to look upstream. A muscle does not decide to contract by itself. Every contraction begins with a signal from the brain to a motor neuron. A motor unit is one motor neuron and every muscle fiber it controls. When motor units are lost, muscle fibers lose what's called a neural connection. That's the brain to muscle connection. And this process is irreversible. It cannot be reversed. The body tries to compensate by having surviving motor neurons take over. This is known as the denervation reinnervation cycle. But over time, there are fewer motor units left. They become larger and more overloaded. And the system loses reserve, speed, and power. That is why sarcosthenia matters. It's not just a muscle problem. It can be a visible footprint of a deeper neural problem. The motor unit network is progressively losing control of the muscle. And this takes us back to the centenarians. The researchers searched for what helped them reach 100: genes, biomarkers, inflammation, mitochondria, diet, lifestyle. But they did not ask the question that matters if you want to understand the final limit. What was still progressively disappearing in every person who lived long enough? The answer is the motor unit reserve. I am not saying sarcosthenia alone proves motor unit loss in one specific person, but you cannot explain a loss of muscle power without examining the motor units and neural drive that make power possible. That is the missing measurement. Now take the same motor unit problem and apply it to the one skeletal muscle you cannot afford to lose, the diaphragm. Your diaphragm is the main working muscle for breathing. It's not a lung, it is a skeletal muscle, just like the muscles in your legs and arms. And it is controlled by motor units through the phrenic nerves. Every breath you take depends on that system. The brain sends the signal, the phrenic motor units fire, the diaphragm contracts, and air moves into your lungs. It has to keep working when you're awake, asleep, sick, coughing, clearing your airways, or trying to recover from an infection. You can live with weak legs, you can live with a weak grip, but you cannot live when the motor unit reserve of the breathing system becomes too small to keep the diaphragm doing its job. This is why I believe the diaphragm may be the one of the final bottlenecks of human lifespan. I am not claiming that this has already been proven in every person who died in extreme old age. I am saying that it is a serious, measurable hypothesis and nobody is measuring it. Now I need to show you a new formula. The first formula told us this: your lifespan is determined by the first vital system to fail. This new formula explains how a vital system runs out of reserve in the first place. Now, before I show it, think of your body as having different life support systems. For example, your heart system pumps blood. Your breathing system brings oxygen in. Your immune system fights infection. Your brain and nervous system run the body. And your motor unit system sends the signals that make your muscles move, cough, swallow, stand up, or breathe. Every one of those systems has a reserve tank. Reserve equals what you start with plus genes plus what helps you minus age-related deterioration. That's the simple formula version. Now here's the scientific one. Don't let the letters confuse you. The letter R means the reserve left. The little I means the individual person. The little K means the body system we are talking about: the heart, breathing, immune system, brain, kidneys, or motor units. The little A means age. The letter B means the reserve you started life with. The letter G means your genetic advantage or disadvantage. The letter E means everything that helps or harms you: training, lifestyle, food, medical care, or the environment. And the letter D means deterioration that keeps adding up as you age. So at 30, your systems have a huge reserve tank. However, starting in your 40s is when these reserves begin to decrease and the diseases and infections begin to show their faces. At 117, it may have only a little left. But María Branyas Morera defied this and had plenty of reserve left due to her elite genetic makeup. But elite genetics cannot stop the loss of motor units. And as I mentioned earlier, when any vital system fails below the minimum reserve needed to do its job, that system fails and your life ends. And this is why the oldest person alive today, Ethel Caterham, matters. Ethel is also 117 years old right now. She may have a larger reserve tank and subsystems than any other human being ever measured. Maybe her heart reserve is extraordinary. Maybe her immune system reserve. Maybe her brain. Maybe her motor unit reserve. We do not know. And that is the problem. Scientists can test her blood, her genes, inflammation, mitochondria, and biological age. That is useful. But they should also measure the system that actually keeps a human being functioning and alive: motor unit reserve, strength, power, walking ability, coughing ability, and diaphragmatic function. This is not about bothering her or exploiting her. She owes nobody anything. But if she personally chose to allow respectful, non-invasive testing, she could help answer the question nobody asked while Maria was alive. Which vital reserve is still protecting a 170-year-old human being, and which one is closest to running out? Now let's go back to the study that started the whole video. The scientists searched thousands of records and collected more than 100 papers on centenarians and simple centenarians. They looked for what these people had in common that helped them reach 100 and beyond. Protective genes, better biomarkers, low inflammation, better mitochondria, healthier lifestyle. But they did not ask the reverse question. What did these people have in common that still ended them? Because even the people who make it the farthest do not spread out to 130, 140, 150. They still converge into a remarkable narrow extreme age range. That means there may be a common bottleneck. Genes are not a timer that suddenly runs out at 110, 115, or 117. Your genes are still there at 117. A protective gene may give you more reserve and may help you avoid cancer, heart disease, dementia, inflammation, and metabolic collapse. But if the genes were sufficient to determine the final ceiling, then the people with the strongest genetic protection should keep separating farther and farther from everyone else. Why not 127? Why not 132? Why not 140? Something may be stopping them before the genetic advantages can take them any farther. The problem is that death is not programmed by genes. They do not regulate aging. And what is being spread on social media that genes cause a measurable lifespan ceiling makes no evolutionary or mechanical sense. Now, motor units are different. They are progressively lost with age. The remaining units become larger, slower, and more burdened. The reserve system that turns brain signals into movement, coughing, swallowing, and breathing can keep shrinking over time. That is why motor unit reserve, especially in the diaphragm and respiratory system, may be the common denominator nobody is looking at. Look, I am not claiming that this is proven. I am saying this is the question that must be measured. What system keeps deteriorating in every human being, even after the genes, the biomarkers, and the diseases have been held off? Find that system, and you may finally find the real ceiling of human lifespan. Have a great day, everyone.